Have you ever wondered what would happen if sex stopped being pleasurable? Overpopulation, sexual violence, reevaluation of identity, cultural changes, and acceptance of diversity. Welcome to the What If Lab channel, and let's think together about where this could lead. If you've read the book or watched the movie by Dan Brown, Inferno, you've probably thought about the future of the planet due to overpopulation. Statistics show that about 45% of all pregnancies in the world are unwanted. Currently, the world population is around 8.09 billion. Given these figures, one could assume that the population in 10 years would be approximately 8.9 billion, and in 50 years, around 10.9 billion. But considering the statistics on unwanted pregnancies, the population in 10 years would be about 8.2 billion, and in 50 years, around 8.62 billion. That's a colossal difference, don't you think? These are very simplified estimates, and the real numbers may vary depending on many factors. Share your thoughts in the comments. Now let's move on, and I want to talk about how the disappearance of sexual pleasure could impact the level of sexual violence. Let's figure this out together. Crimes related to sexual violence account for 5 to 15% of all registered crimes. Many acts of violence are linked to aggression or a desire for control. If there's no pleasure, people might not feel the need to go to such extremes. Why would they, if it no longer brings joy? This means that some individuals may be less inclined to dominate. If sex stops being appealing, the desire to engage in aggressive actions may also diminish. If sexual needs become irrelevant, we might see people focusing on other aspects of relationships, friendship, support, and mutual help. This could lead to healthier interactions and consequently fewer conflicts. And lastly, redefining identity. Many of us associate ourselves with our sexuality. If that changes, we might see people reevaluating their roles and behaviors. This could lead to a lower likelihood of violent behavior. Those are my thoughts, friends. Of course, this is just a hypothetical scenario, and many factors influence violence. But as you can see, the absence of sexual pleasure could lead to many interesting changes in our society. Everyone has heard of a platform called OnlyFans, but not everyone knows the original idea behind its creation. OnlyFans was initially created as a platform for content creators, allowing them to share exclusive content with subscribers for a fee. Its main goals and functions included supporting creative individuals. The platform provided opportunities for artists, musicians, writers, and other creators to earn from their content. The revenue of OnlyFans is around $1.3 billion a year, but we understand that this success was not achieved thanks to writers and musicians. Returning to today's topic, such a platform as OnlyFans might revert to its original idea. But would it earn less? After all, society focuses on finding pleasure in other areas. Writers, artists, musicians, and other professions might receive more attention for their creativity. What will happen to adult films? These secret websites will have to think about their future and might even start producing funny cat videos. What would happen to apps like Tinder and other dating sites? The first thing that comes to mind is that such apps might start emphasizing the creation of deep emotional connections. People would begin to seek not only romantic relationships, but also genuine friendship and support. What about profiles? Instead of focusing on appearance and sexuality, users could share more about their hobbies, interests, and personal achievements. This would create a more complete picture of each person, but some apps may lose popularity if they don't adapt to the new realities. Users might start looking for more suitable platforms that meet their new needs. If sex stops being pleasurable, dating apps could change significantly. What do you think about that? Share in the comments. Modern society is experiencing significant cultural changes that affect perceptions of various forms of relationships, including celibacy and non-traditional connections. Let's imagine how the absence of pleasure from sex might impact the perception of such forms of relationships. The first thing I want to talk about is how attitudes towards celibacy are changing. In the past, when someone said they were not in a relationship, it might have been seen as something strange. But now, many understand that celibacy is not a sign of problems. It can be a conscious choice. More and more people are choosing to focus on their goals, hobbies, and careers, and that's perfectly fine. Considering our video topic in the future, celibacy or the absence of children in marriage may gain more popularity. Now let's move on to the diversity of relationships. Have you noticed how in recent years, more people have begun discussing polyamory, open relationships, and other alternative forms of connections? Society will begin to realize that we are not obliged to follow traditional patterns. Everyone can find their unique formula for happiness. Cultural changes and acceptance of diversity in relationships contribute to creating a more open and harmonious society. Reducing the stigma surrounding celibacy and diverse forms of relationships will allow people more freedom in choosing how to build their lives and connections. This, in turn, will lead to a deeper understanding of human relationships. You might be thinking that living in such a world could even be better than in the present. So now I want to discuss with you the negative aspects of losing pleasure that nature has given us. Let's start with the reduction of intimacy. Without pleasure from sex, the connection between partners would change significantly. The concept of infidelity might become more vague. A simple walk in the park with a colleague or a coffee chat about everyday life could lead to the conclusion that your partner is psychologically or emotionally cheating on you. Also, the absence of pleasure would reduce a person's libido to almost zero, which would stop motivating them to seek a partner, potentially leading to an increase in the number of lonely people and a decrease in stable family structures. Considering our unstable and ever-changing world, where depression and psychological problems prevail, the absence of pleasure could exacerbate everything. For many people, this enjoyable activity is the only ray of sunshine. Yes, the next generation might not even know about such pleasure because they won't experience it, and therefore it won't serve as a remedy in tough times. Let's not forget about art, as sublimation has allowed for the creation of beautiful paintings and enchanting music. And of course, in our case, the absence of sexual energy that artists, sculptors, musicians, and other creative sublimate could lead to a cultural and creative stagnation. So, we've reached the end of the video. I hope this topic was interesting for you. What do you think could happen globally in a world without sexual pleasure? Share in the comments. See you in the next video.